Señoras y señores, bienvenidos a mi canal nuevamente. Hoy estoy con uno de los bateristas de heavy metal más importantes de la actualidad. Él es el baterista del guitarrista sueco Yngwie Malmsteen. Y bueno, él ha tocado también con muchísimas otras bandas famosas como W.A.S.P. Bueno, ha tocado también en lo que sería el G3. También ha tocado con Gas G de Ozzy Osbourne. Así que bueno, lo vamos a presentar. He's one of the greatest heavy metal drummers right now. So I would like to introduce to you Patrick Johansson. Welcome.
Thank you, sir.
It's a pleasure to have you in my show. So the first question that I have is, let's go back in time. I would like to know about your beginnings, how you end up playing drums, and why you choose the instrument.
Coming from Sweden, of course, the hammer of Thor was the natural choice for playing drums. But I saw Kiss on TV, maybe 1980 or something. I'm 45 years old, so I wasn't very old. I saw Kiss was in Sweden, and they showed them on TV with the makeup, a little clip, and oh my goodness, you know, that's what I want to do with my life. It was just grabbed me so hard that the one time, I never forget, the fall of 1980 or something. I was just 4 or 5 years old then. And there was something about it. I didn't go to the concert, but I saw that on TV the day after they played in Stockholm. And it was like, oh my goodness, you know, what is this? You know, and it was just grabbed me, the whole thing with the loud music and the drums, you know. And there was Eric Carr playing drums because they were the 2 bass drums and the Kiss logo, you know, and everything. It was amazing, you know. So right after that, my mom got me a drum kit for Christmas, that same Christmas, I believe. And and that started right there. Kiss record, Kiss tapes, and the headphones. And then I got into listening to other bands like Rainbow, Sweet. You know, the Love Is Like Oxygen. I love that song. Rainbow, Cozy Powell, Deep Purple, stuff like that. There was no turn back. I knew then, even when I was in first grade, I knew what I wanted to do with my life. I wanted to play drums. I was not confused. I wanted to play the drum for work, right?
Excellent. Awesome. So, and let's talk about your influences. What kind of, which are the main influences on drums?
You know, Kiss was what brought me to listen to music. But then as you listen to other things, Black Sabbath, Judas Priest, Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Rainbow, all that stuff had an influence on my playing. You know, I think a few records that stuck out with drumming wise, that really made a difference for me with drumming, that I thought, wow, you paid attention to the drums. I remember Razor X Second Heat with Scott Travis.
Yeah.
The Scarified and Hammer Away, the Motor, what's it called? Motormouth? Motorman. And then that kind of stuff, that really changed. And also later when he joined Judas Priest and played Painkiller, that record was a lot of influence for me playing drums, right? The Painkiller record was amazing. And also earlier stuff like Tommy Lee, Red Hot, they start the record, Shout at the Devil, you flipped it over. As a kid, Deep Purple, Fireball, the 2 bass drums. Not necessarily very fast, but just they felt the power. Yeah. And the band Europe had a song called Scream of Anger. I remember on the second album. I think second song, first side, Scream of Anger with Europe on the Wings of Tomorrow record. There's also another one that was a double kicker all the way through. And but wow, what is that sound? And I fell in love with it, that sound. So I used to, at the drum school where I took classes before I had 2 bass drums, I used to go practice early and take the 2 drum kits together. I had 2 drum kits together, and I used to pull them together. I used to bring to school when my band rehearsed in the basement. I used to bring my other kick drum from home and try to figure out the double bass drum stuff. So that was, you know, something that was just opened my eyes. You know, it was like amazing. Wow. It's another thing. I'm wearing the T-shirt today for a special reason. Paul Stanley's solo album. Last song on that record was Take Me Away Together as One, when Carmine Appice played drums. And all those rolls with hand feet, and a bunch of fills. Even if the song was slow, he played the drums amazing. And Carmine is such a wonderful person and an excellent drummer, been around since the early mid-60s. You know, he's a true legend. You know, And the way he played there, that really, just that song was like, oh my goodness, there's another thing. What was going on there? You know, when you're a kid, you hear it. And he goes those triplets and the 16 notes and stuff and mix it up with hand-feet combinations, you know, instead of just doing the hands, just the feet. So that really influenced me a lot, just the way he played on that song specifically, you know, that song, you know, was very interesting. Amazing. As a young kid, hear that, you know, and I take to my drum teacher, what's going on? Who played on this? I don't know, you know, it's no internet. You read in the magazines, you read the drummer magazines, you read the heavy metal magazines, and you try to figure out who was the drummer, the liner notes on the record, or whatever, who played and what kind of gear were they using, you know. So there's a lot of things like that, small things that maybe at the time didn't seem important, but later on, yesterday I was working in the studio with Dave Spitz and Dave Lintz, my two Dave friends here in Florida, and they go, oh, where do you get those fills from? And I told them that's from that Carmine Appice, right? You know, I got those ideas a long time ago. Wow. And so I never came up with anything. I just copied something someone else did. You know? Amazing, you know. And I know King Diamond, of course, coming from Sweden, Mickey D and Snowy Shaw, excellent drummers. The way they played, you know, was like, it's a lot of so many good musicians and great music you heard through your life, and it all played a big role to shaping you into what you are today.
Exactly. I think the more music that you listen to, the more you get your own identity.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to talk about the drum kit that you have today. What kind of drum set are you using? What kind of cymbals, drum heads, drums?
I'm using Pearl reference, and sometimes I use that one. Sometimes I use an old Pearl World Series. I still use that. I shipped that from Sweden here. I use the Pearl MLX. I use the Session Elite. There's multiple different Pearl drum kits I'm using. It's, you know, it depends what I'm going to do. I like that old World Series. I use it still. I had it since I was a kid in Sweden. A lot of times in the studio, I've been using that one lately. I also recorded a reference, the old one, you know, the Purple Craze was the color. I saw it in NAMM Show 2005, and I talked to Mike Ferris. It was at the time the artist relations for Pearl, and I said, I need to have that drum kit. You don't even hear how it sounds like. It just looks so pretty with the purple sparkle, you know. So I thought, you know, but it sounded great. So I have two of those kits I use a lot too. So it's of course it's Pearl and Siljan, but it's that World Series been doing good lately. Maybe because it's been sitting in the rain and the Florida moisture and the snow in Sweden made it some character. I don't know. But that one sounds good, and I like that the reference are very consistent. The Pearl reference, the newer ones, awesome. You know, they have that lug, you know, that swivels, so you get a full contact around the drum head, which I think is interesting. You know, right. You know, you see the way the drum is not just a straight lug. The lug swivels a little bit, so you get a better contact, and it's easier to tune the drums. You know, so awesome. I think that. Also with Pearl, I have to say this though. You know, the reason I picked Pearl to play. I always had it in Sweden. I did, you know, when you're growing up, you have to be careful how you spend your money. Both Pearl and Siljan, you know. The products seem to hold up. The sound is great. It's a lot of good sounding drums, but the quality of the thing, when you have the drums in and out of the trailer, out in the snow, in the humidity in Florida, and the way they make the shell, the drum, they forge it together almost like a skateboard, if I understand correctly. It's like the heat compressed shell, and then it's overlapping. The lug, the layers are not butt to butt. They kind of cut, so they overlayer. If you look in a Pearl drum, even the cheaper one export, which I use sometimes too, as an export kit too. If a jam night somewhere and I go play 5 songs, I use the bring a Pearl export. You know, that's good enough too, because the way they're made, so the shell separation is way less likely than on other brands. And to me, that's important. You know, that the drum stays round, not oval, and don't sink in. It can take the beating on the road. It's a combination of sound and quality, because it's not, you know, only how it sounds. It also has to hold up live. Doesn't matter how good it sounds in your garage. You could take it out on the road and you have to hit the bump on the trailer and the drum breaks, you know, or the lug falls off. It's no good. Yeah. You don't want to go to war and the wheels falls off the tank, right? You know, that's no good. You know? You want to make sure it works. You know? And that's what both Pearl and Siljan also provided, you know, that for me for a long time now. And the excellent artist relations all around the world. If something breaks off, you know, oh, someone broke off a bass drum leg for me once in Sacramento. And I called Mike and I said on a Sunday, and he said, oh yeah, Bentley's drum shop in Sacramento, they should have a leg for you. So they arranged, I got another bass drum leg just in an hour. I had it, you know, the support from the company, from a local store. And so that kind of stuff matters too if you travel. You don't want to, you know, you have to have the gear. And I always bring spare parts, but it's always unexpected adventure. So that's for me to pick a drum kit. That's a combination with the drum. First of all, the drum, you like the sound, then the quality. And when you're traveling and working, then you to have the support from the company that they actually pick up the phone and they help you with what you need within reason. Obviously. That's important too. So
yeah,
that's why I play the Pearl. Yeah. Pearl drums, 2 kick drums, 1 rack tom, 1 floor tom sometimes a floor tom on each side. It can be 22-inch kick drums. Sometimes I have 24. Mm-hmm. So it changes depending on my mood, you know, what I like.
Awesome. What kind of drum heads are you using? Are you using Remo Power Stroke 3 or?
I've been using drum heads. I've been mixing up. I've been using a Remo Power Stroke 3 on the kick drums, mm-hmm. and I've been using the almost exclusive the last 20 years. The Power Stroke 3 with a small flam pad, the little thing that comes with them, the little Kevlar piece you tape where the beater goes. And then I'll be using the stock Pearl front heads. I don't change them. Whatever comes from the drums, I use those. And then on the snare drum, I've been using the heaviest bottom snare head because I've been popping the bottom snare as the hazy and the thin one. They break just from the pressure. I don't know why. Lately, I've been breaking the bottom heads more than top heads on the snare. And I use the Emperor X snare drum head.
Okay. And
on the toms, it's been a combination of Emperor, coated or clear, or even Evans G2. I found in the last record I did with NorthTale, the band, a new band I have, and with me and Bill, and Christian, there was my friend from Sweden, the old singer, who used to be singing it. And we had the G2 heads on the toms in the studio, and they sounded really good, the Evans. So I've been mixing the heads, you know, I don't have an agreement with any of the companies because I don't know. It's just I like sometimes to have the Evans on the head toms more than the other one, depending on the drum. You know, especially on that World Series, the Evans sounds a little better, I think, you know, on the toms.
Yeah. I really like the sound of your snare drum. Are you using a brass or steel snare drum?
I'm using an Ian Paiste signature snare drum. Yngwie got me for the G3 tour maybe, or when I moved to America, I don't know, 20 years ago. I had it for almost 20 years. It's like an Ian Paiste 2 blocks. It's just an Ian Paiste IP snare drum, right? Ian Paiste signature. And then I use an Eric Singer snare drum too in the studio. Wow. The one with a 10-ply maple. That one is good. And then sometimes I use the reference, the 20-ply maple in the studio too. But lately it's been going back and forward with Ian Paiste snare live, mm-hmm. or a regular, you know, like a Sensitone Pearl. With Yngwie, I used the Sensitone brass on his records, all of them as Sensitone. All I changed on it was him. I had the Genera dry snare drum sound on his one. I had the Genera, the one with the holes in it, in the snare drum, and the Sensitone. And I took those lugs off and I used the tube lugs on it. I don't know why I changed the tube lugs, but I changed on his snare drum. So I'm sorry if I changed it, but that sounded good then. So I got the tube lugs, Pearl tube lugs. Like Ian Paiste has a tube lug, and I like the tube lug because it doesn't break or doesn't move. Snare drums, sometimes when you tune it up and up alive, you can break it. A lug. You don't break it from playing, you break it from the tension. Brutal tension, tuning a bad head, try to save it a little bit more, right? You're tuning it up higher and higher, and eventually the lug cracks, you know. So tube lugs don't crack.
Yeah. Awesome. I myself use a Pearl brass tube, this one right here.
That was the one used. All the records with Yngwie, I used the same snare drum. The brass, 6.5 by 14. Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I also had one in the studio before with my band Kinlan. We had a free-floating 8-inch deep, 8 by 14 I used for a while too. But that one, I don't know what happened to it. I think someone wanted it, and I don't know where it is now. Maybe it's still in the studio. Maybe someone else enjoying it now. So that's beautiful in the world. Who cares? You know, it's whatever. Someone wanted it that bad. I guess it's theirs now, right? So, that's okay.
Awesome. I want to talk about
cymbals. Cymbals. I use the heavy, medium, medium A custom in the studio, and live I'm using the regular A. 19-inch crashes almost on top of the board, mega bell ride, and a heavy hi-hat, 14-inch.
Same one.
Yeah, I like the mega bell. But sometimes I use the ping ride if I play some more lighter music, the 22-inch ping ride. But the mega bell, that is the ultimate production from Siljan. That's the shield from that they made in Boston, in Norwell there. They made the shield for the Vikings. People don't know that. In 1623, almost 400 years ago, Siljan had an allegiance with the Viking, making shields for them. That's
awesome.
Yeah, that must have been the truth, because the mega bell really looked like something coming out of the Thor movie, right? The big bell, strong and very heavy.
The first time that I saw you play drums was back in 2003. 2003, yeah, in I think it was Hollywood, Florida, in the metal factory with Yngwie Malmsteen, and was an amazing show. So I would like to know. I actually have pictures of the show, and I have obviously the guitar pick of Yngwie. And the second time that I saw you was on Kravis Center in West Palm Beach on G3, which was Halloween.
Halloween night.
Yeah, it was an incredible show. I never forget that show.
That was amazing too. That was I remember that day very clearly. I woke up on the tour bus, and then I walk out and I walk down to City Place. And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, this is a beautiful place here. Where is this place? And later that day, I actually met my wife that night. I didn't know her at that time, but I met her at that show. She went to see Joe Satriani, her and her friends. Wow. And after the show, when we were done with Yngwie, they asked me, do you want to go play a show with our friends in Palm Beach? A local band called Mighty Quinn, cover band. And she worked with the bass player's wife. So Jim, the bass player, his wife, Shauna, and my wife, Kelly, they worked together. And that's... So that's I didn't know that at the time, but then and they're still friends, so it's kind of funny what happened, and yeah, so I went with them and played 2 songs in a bar after the show just for fun, and after the tour we start talking, hanging out.
Excellent.
So that was an interesting thing, and I always used to ask her. I said on the tour, "Where is that beautiful place?" And it must have taken, I don't know, 2 years until I realized where the place I was looking for. I thought it was in Tampa, but it was downtown Palm Beach there, what's it called, City Place. Yeah. So now I live in Palm Beach, and it's kind of funny. I didn't even know, but that's what happens sometimes.
Awesome. Yeah. So the question is how you met Yngwie Malmsteen and how you end up playing for him.
Oh, I met Yngwie in Sweden, 2001 or something. I think it was at a show in actually, and my friend Pontus Norgren, that plays guitar in Hammerfall, he was working with Yngwie fixing the guitars or something that night. Was just called in for that night. It was a weird night. I went there. It was last minute. We go there, me and my friends. It was me, Joakim from Sabaton, and Per. No, it wasn't Per. It was Jocke, the singer, and the old guitar player Richard and Richard's girlfriend. We went to see the Yngwie show. And anyway, so Pontus was the Stormwind CD, my previous band, and I said, listen, if he ever needs a drummer, give me a call. And then I went to watch the show with them, and Oscar from Hammerfall was there too. No one knew that at that time, and they were recruiting Anders Johansson, the old Yngwie drummer, to Hammerfall. I think, before he became a permanent member. So they asked. So I told Oscar, if Anders doesn't want to do it, maybe we can talk about it, because I known Oscar for a long time. He's a wonderful person, Oscar Drunjak. And then he said, yeah, but we're going to use Anders. And he was kidding around. Said, maybe you should go play with Yngwie. So I gave Pontus my CD. After the show, true story, Yngwie's wife came and asked me, are you Patrick? And I said, it was Patrick. Yeah, the drummer was sick or something, so they couldn't play. And he come, hey, can you play tomorrow? Worst case scenario, as a fill-in. And I said, yeah, I guess. But then the Pontus called me next day, and nothing happened. Oh, the drummer is fine. He just had a bad cheeseburger or whatever, right? So he was okay. But anyway, then a few months go by, and Yngwie actually called and say, hey, what's going on? Do you want to go on tour in South America? And that's how it started. So that's what happened. That's the real story. It's kind of crazy story.
Amazing.
Yeah. And so, I would say I'm bad with internet. It's bad with internet. And before I had heard rumors were that Yngwie was looking for a drummer for the tour or something. So I had got an email address from Claes Yngström, a Swedish guitar player, had a band called Sky High from my hometown, Falun. And he asked, said, email this girl that runs Yngwie's fan club. And she responded. But I didn't see the email because I guess I don't know how to read emails, even then, 20 years ago. As you know, too, it took me a while to figure it out. I think I would figure it out now, but no. And I got a response, now you can go over and have a drum. But it was in the junk mail, and I didn't see that until a year later. If I would have seen that, I probably would never have handed him a CD at the show, right? I maybe wouldn't even have gone to the concert. Who knows, right? Mm-hmm. So I would have stayed home. It was just one of those things. Let's just go and see the show. We have nothing else to do. And then I gave him a CD, and out of that, he called me and he asked me if that was me playing drums on the CD, and then he said, "Do you want to come and play with me?" It's a South American tour. So that's what happened. First show was in Monterrey, Mexico. Great memory. Great. I don't. 20 years ago. 20 years ago, almost to the day. Almost to the day.
Wow.
Almost to the day. 20 years ago. Yeah. September 21st. Mm-hmm. 10 days after the bad day here in America. Yeah, no, they got this rescheduled. We were supposed to leave, but it got delayed. Obviously, it got delayed, the tour. These tragic events that happened 20 years ago. Wow. The tour still happened. South American tour still happened. It delayed, and then we did the tour. That was it. Beginning of a great time. Many years of happiness and fun stories.
Excellent. Did you record in the album Attack, right?
Yes, I sure did.
Mm-hmm. That was
using that same snare drum you showed, using that snare drum.
Yeah.
That Sensitone brass snare drum.
Oh, amazing. So that was the first album that you did with Yngwie?
Yeah, that was the first. It was Attack, then it was Unleash the Fury, Perpetual Flame, and then it was and we did the live DVD with G3 and video, but the CD too. But what else was it? There was another one, Relentless too. I did too after. Then it was some live stuff. I think live in Tampa or live in Orlando or something later that came out the last. But it was just live. It wasn't studio. So for a studio, I did.
So how is it working with him? It's kind of
great.
Like
I have to say the truth. The truth is that you know that he's probably one of the easiest guys to work with. He lets you play whatever you want within reason. He writes the song, right? He wrote the songs. There's no question who's the boss. He writes the song. He has an idea. And I remember asking him, "What do you want me to play?" And he said, "Yeah, you play whatever you want. You're the drummer." And I said, "Okay, really?" I said, "Okay."
Awesome.
Yeah. So that was a very pleasant experience to work in the studio, especially in the studio. Very creative, very, very nice, very mellow. Nothing, we go record a little bit. If something is hard to do, if it doesn't go good one day, we go to have dinner, or something with someone else, a producer, maybe his wife or whatever, and they go to take me to dinner, and then we come back, do it another day. Don't have to do it today. You can do another day. So stuff like that. If I was tired or something, you want to go play tennis instead? I guess, Okay. So it was not relaxed environment. And then I'm never going to forget that, because that's other bands I played with has been different, when you before and after. Because in the end of the day, he's one of a kind, right? Guitar player. That's no one can change that. He's one of a kind. And it's one of the guys that the world changed around the guitar playing was changed. That's just the way it is. It was an honor and a privilege to be able to play with a guy like that. I learned a lot. You always learn. But the much I learned from him, I don't know if I ever learned that much in so many years, but it's still every day I learn something new, because he has so much experience and so wide understanding for music, right? So it was very good. A very, 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 very important time in my life. Very important.
Yeah, it's true.
Happy for that. Yeah.
I'm trying to remind in the past, I was. I don't know if this is off the record, I don't know if you ever went to the Guitar Center, which is on West Palm Beach.
there's a music store there.
Yeah, yeah. Steve O'Connor used to be the manager in Miami, Falun, and he later became the manager to West Palm Beach.
Yeah.
So I was there. Yeah, I used to go there.
Yeah, I remember that they used to do the drum offs there.
Yeah, I used to be the judge. Yeah, I used to judge that, you know.
Yeah, well, I was in 2002 in a competition there. See?
Oh, I wasn't judging 2002, but from 2004, wow, you won Palm Beach?
Yeah, in 2002, I won the competition, and it was amazing. Yeah, yeah.
Wow. I tell you right now, I would not have won any competition in that like that. I couldn't show anything in 2 minutes or whatever you play, or 5 minutes, 3 minutes. I would just talking. I would be talking, and I wouldn't even have enough time to adjust the seat. You know, I was very impressed by the kids, how they show up, and they have a routine planned out. Very, very good.
Yeah, that was a very good memory that I have there when I used to live in West Palm Beach, in the United States, by the way. It was amazing.
Yeah.
The last question is for all the people, I mean, for the drummers, the new drummers, what kind of advice can you give them to, you know, to get better and try to get a better session with famous musicians? I mean, what is
I wouldn't worry about that. I would say just be happy and content, be at peace with yourself, and play stuff you like to play the way you want to play, and to play stuff that makes you happy, and to play the drums for yourself. Don't worry so much about what other people think, because it doesn't matter. If you don't like it, it doesn't matter if you're playing with Rolling Stones or AC/DC. If you're not happy, who cares? It's like a marriage. If you're married to some rich lady, you don't like her, you know, it's no fun. I'd rather be hanging out with a girl that has no money. We sleep in the back of a broken car, right? And we have a good time. Yeah. We have a good time together. Same with the band. If you band or music, it has to be from the soul. You know, just to be generic, I want to be famous, or I want to get free cymbals, or I want to get a free guitar, or it shouldn't really matter. You should focus on making music that you like. Music is a form of expression, a form of art, I guess, you know, and you want to make sure you do music that makes you happy and other people happy. Then other people will see it, and you will become real. There's plenty of fake people in the world, you know. If you look around, you know, it's turn on the radio, bad news, turn on the TV, bad news, you know, always everyone's so negative and angry all the time. So let's be happy and create music together.
Yeah.
Music is the international language. You don't have no border, they have no religion, you know, it's no politics. Just play music and be happy, right? You know, that's I'm just a drummer, so anyone asks me for advice, that's not a good idea. I like to play the drums, and that's about it. Nice talking to you, Paulo.
Me too.
Thanks for having me. And I love Kiss.
Starcut, yeah. So, what an honor, man. We keep in touch.
Yes, likewise. And let me know if you come back to visit here. We go have some Brazilian, or what's it called, Argentinian. They have the Brazilian steakhouse, but it's not the same as Argentinian. It's not the same. Argentinian steakhouse is better, I think.
Yeah.
The Argentinian meat, but it has to be done in Argentina. That's the problem, because the Argentinian steakhouse here in Palm Beach is not the same as the one in Buenos Aires.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the difference. Okay.
All right.
We'll talk soon and be safe. Okay. Thank you, Paulo.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.